Hey there kiddos, in this video we're going to go through 6.5 lesson 4, which is all about solving problems with solids and missing measurements still using the Pythagorean theorem. So when you take a look at our think about it question, in your notebooks go ahead and draw this figure, or you could just take the packet, make sure that this example is in your composition notebooks because you will see these types of questions on the assessment. It says a regular prism is shown below with the given dimensions. What's the exact length of the diagonal dotted line across the front face of the prism? So when we take a look at this, we should be thinking to ourselves, okay, we have a rectangular prism, so we want to annotate that. We're told that it has the exact length, or we're looking for the exact length. So this is going to create a right angle here, which also creates a right angle here. And so we are able to hopefully see that we've got a right triangle located here. And we're looking for this dotted line, which is going to represent our hypotenuse, and these two are going to represent our legs. So we can see that 11 centimeters is the value of B. To determine the value of A, well, this part of the rectangular prism is equal to this part of the rectangular prism, and that part of the rectangular prism is 6 centimeters. It's not going to be this part, because this part is a part that goes from front to back, and this is a different part of our rectangular prism. So we want to make sure that when we're looking at our three-dimensional figures, imagine that you're holding this rectangular prism, and this part here is the height of the rectangular prism. So A squared, we should always be writing this down, plus B squared is equal to C squared. And now we just want to substitute. A squared is equal to 6 squared. B squared is equal to 11 squared. And that's going to be equal to our hypotenuse, which is C squared. When we find the sum of A squared and B squared, that's equal to 157. So C squared is equal to 157. We want to figure out what is the value of this diagonal. And because C is the square root of 157, and that is not a perfect square, we're just going to leave this as C is equal to the square root of 157. And our key point for this lesson is that the Pythagorean theorem can be used to determine diagonal lengths on three-dimensional shapes with right angles. So if that three-dimensional shape has a right angle, then we can use a Pythagorean theorem to find what that diagonal figure is, or that diagonal hypotenuse will be. All right, let's take a look at our next question. The next question says that packing peanuts costs 19 cents per cubic centimeter to fill. What will be the cost to fill the rectangular prism below with a height of 2 centimeters, a length of 10 centimeters, and a diagonal length shown by the thick line as the square root of 40 centimeters? So this is a two-part question. When it comes to finding the cubic centimeters to fill, that means we're going to be finding the volume of this figure. And this is a little preview of what we're going to do in our next couple of units, where volume is when you are multiplying the length times the width times the height. And so when we look at our figure, we are able to determine that, hey, this part here is equal to 2 centimeters. Our diagonal is equal to square root of 40. And this shorter side here of our triangle, we don't know. This other part of the leg is what's unknown. So in order to find volume, you would multiply length times width times height, but we're just going to be looking for the leg. And so once again, we want to write out our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, where A squared is equal to 2. So that's going to be 2 squared. We don't know what B squared is. And And that's going to be equal to the square root of 40. The square root of 40 squared. And when we just do the square root of 40 squared, well, that's going to get rid of our square root. So this is just going to be equal to 40. B squared is still B squared. We don't know what that is yet. And 2 times 2, or 2 squared, is equal to 4. So we want to make sure to isolate our variables. So we're going to subtract 4, so that we are left with B squared is equal to 36. Or this leg here is equal to 36. So B squared is equal to 36. But we just want to figure out, hey, what is B equal to? Well, B would be equal to the square root of 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. So that means this length here on this prism, or this rectangular prism, this box that we're going to be using to pack, would be 6. And since the units are centimeters, it would be 6 centimeters. Alright, so please, kiddos, have this in your notebook, because volume, although it's not going to be what you're going to be assessed with, you need to understand what volume means in order to be able to, one, recognize how to draw this triangle here and what parts of it you would need in order to solve. Alright, now let's get into our lesson for today.